Welcome to Comm 10, the official podcast of the School of Communication at the University of Nebraska at Omaha. We bring you a fast-paced 10-minute spotlight on the voices, stories, and projects shaping journalism, media, and communication on our campus. 10 minutes, one story, all Maverick.
Welcome to Comm 10. I'm your host, Heather Hundley.
And I'm Jodine Brownlee, and I am faculty here in the School of Communication. And today we have a special guest. I guess they've all been really special, but this one has been part of UNO for years. And once you graduated, Megan, you have really kept in touch with faculty and students, and you've really been paying it forward, which is kind of a cliche to say, but nevertheless, that's what you've been doing. You've been giving back, and we so appreciate that, the representation of a maverick. I mean, you're truly a maverick.
But for people who don't know, Megan Reider.
Megan Reider. I was getting into that. Okay. The delayed ID was coming up.
Right. We only have 10 minutes.
Oh my gosh. Just get to it. That's so funny.
Okay, so let's talk. Megan Reider.
Hello.
JMC major, graduated in 2013 and was a go-getter, got a job in radio, and you just stayed there.
Yeah. For a minute.
Yeah. Let's talk about your story in radio. At what point did you decide, when you were an undergraduate, or whenever it was, that this is what I want to do?
So I actually had zero desire to work in radio ever. I actually wanted to be a sportscaster. I wanted to work for ESPN. That was always the goal, to do TV. And then I was serving tables at Old Chicago in Papillion, which no longer exists. And we actually had a radio station here in Omaha, Cat 103.7, came in to do a listener lounge. And I met the personalities from that station. So, Gina, Haas, Eric, and I actually got to be their server. And then I said, hey, I listen to you guys all the time. You're one of my favorite stations. And they're like, oh, awesome, and then we just got to talking, and they're like, what do you do? And I was like, oh, I serve here, but I'm a student at UNO. They're like, what are you majoring in? And I was like, oh, broadcasting. And they were like, wait, what? And I go, yeah. And they go, why didn't you lead off with that? I go, because I wasn't thinking about it. I just was excited to, serve you guys. And then they were like, well, we're looking for interns. And I was like, oh, cool. And I was like, oh, radio. I'm like, that sounds boring. And then I was like, but I need an internship for my degree audit. And so I was like, well, I'll go check it out. At least it'd be a fun summer. And I walked in, interviewed, and then they showed me around and just kind of showed me the ropes of how everything works, and fell in love with it immediately after day one, and walked out of there going, that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. It just hit me like a ton of bricks. And from then on, it was like, how do I get into this?
Nice.
Yeah.
You found your love.
Yeah.
So no journey is complete without some kind of failure, issues, roadblocks.
That's
We've
me.
all experienced it. And I don't know you as well. They were here before. So what happened, and then what did you learn from some kind of issues you had as a student, I think?
Oh, gosh. Well, I was such a good student in high school. I was an honor student and graduated in the top of my class, and then I got to college and was like, what am I doing with myself? No idea what to do. I actually didn't go here first. I went to the sister school in Lincoln, and didn't have great grades, and ended up having to come home and get my GPA up. So I went to community college for a year, boost my GPA back up, and then came to UNO and decided on broadcasting actually while I was at the community college. And then it was a very harsh learning experience for someone who was such a good student for their whole life to go through that. And it took me a lot longer, but I was the first one in my family to go to a 4-year university. So it was really just a trial by fire.
Yeah.
So,
hey, I didn't get straight A's in college.
Yeah. That makes me feel better because you seem very distinguished.
I was actually on academic probation.
Oh my gosh.
First semester.
I feel so much better about my life now.
I don't know why. I don't know what happened, but
right. I guess it happens to everyone, and so in some capacity, and so. But when I decided on broadcasting, it was just kind of hit the ground running, and I just fell in love with it, and then from there it was like falling in love with my classes, and I still had some stumbles. I had some roadblocks. I had to retake a couple of classes. I think I had to retake one of Jodine's at one point. Trying to balance working full time, going to school full time. I was taking 16 credit hours and working 40 hours a week. I mean, it was.
And we made sure you knew it.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. So a lot of stumbling blocks, hurdles in the way, but eventually it ended up working out and got back to where I needed to be. So, and that was school, and then have experienced similar things in my career as well.
I bet that prepared you, because, no career is that smooth either. And I think especially in broadcasting and radio, because they buy out each other, they change formats,
budgets constantly getting cut, and having been the victim of 2 layoffs, budget cuts.
So you built a resilience.
He was. As hard as it was, I mean, it was a very depressing time, because you think you work so hard, and you're always the yes man, and you're always trying to participate and be the person the go-to person at work, and then they're like, well, but you're the last one in, first one out kind of thing, and we don't want to pay your benefits, and we don't want to pay your salary, and so you got to go kind of thing. And having that happen, now I didn't think it would ever happen twice, and it did, and that was hard. It was depressing. And the second time I was like, I'm done. This is too much heartache. It's like getting dumped by the same boyfriend over and over again. Like, why do I keep doing this to myself? It's toxic. It feels awful. And so I changed up my career for a hot second until I came back to it, because it just kept calling. So
all right. And that's amazing to me, though, the perseverance that it's taken. And I know that we would have people come in your position now and tell students, you will go through this.
Yeah.
It is not an easy street. It is going to be hard. And almost everybody is laid off at one point or another for whatever kind of reason. And you dealt with that.
Yeah.
And not only that, you gained so many experiences because of some of these things that have happened. And what part of those, and I'm talking about, you did some sports.
Yeah.
You music director, you've moved, you've done some social media now. In fact, a lot of social media now.
Yeah.
What part of that story, really resonates with you, like those different paths that you've taken to get here?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the things I was always taught from my radio elders, as I like to call them, were always to say yes and find new experiences, and you're going to wear many hats. So experience everything you can, so that way you are going to be harder and harder to let go as your time goes on. And so, I've worked in sports. I've covered the Huskers. I've covered, local teams. I've now with being a music director for Sweet 98.5 is, definitely one of those things, and the social media coordinator for the station too. And so, it's a ton of responsibility, but it's also nice to be able to be the person who can now teach and mentor younger people coming in, and even like the part-timers I work with at NRG, being able to be the person that they come to for help, or, hey, guidance of any kind. I need help with something, or can you teach me how to do this? And because of all those different roles, and also being able to give somehow sage counsel, I guess, to people, which I never thought I'd be that person, because I'm not a serious person. But, like you said, I've moved across the country and moved back and been, experienced a lot of things that definitely had to make my skin thick. And so being able to pass that on is super cool and just important, because if we don't have that, we don't have people who are willing to pass that on, we're not going to have an industry,
Right. Yeah. And I don't want to paint broadcasting or radio as this terrible job.
It's not.
It's not. Right. Because you know what? I worked in property management as a student. I got laid off from doing that.
Right. I usually just tell students, be prepared for heartbreak, but don't let it ruin your passion and your drive to do it, because it's going to happen. And also just learn every possible thing you possibly can to make yourself
valuable.
exactly. Just utility player, make yourself indisposable. and no one's really truly indisposable, but try to do that for
Right.
yourself.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think students should follow their love and follow their
Yeah,
passion.
agreed.
Whether that's in higher education or
Yeah.
construction or, broadcasting.
Yeah,
all
I
that.
certainly didn't do this to get rich, but it's because I love it. And, my parents have said, like, I can't believe you're doing this to yourself sometimes, but then they also know how much I love it and
Right.
that I was good at it. And I found something I was good at that I loved. And I'm like, it'll all come when it's time, you know? And now
it's
like,
not about money, right?
It's not.
It's about living
Yeah.
comfortably, paying
Right.
your bills.
but being able to, pay your bills and have a savings account and pay for your wedding's pretty cool too. So working your way up hasn't been too bad.
Yeah.
And it'll happen. Yeah.
Like looking yourself in the mirror and
Yeah.
being proud of who
Yes,
you are and,
and
what
that's
you've
a-
accomplished.
Yeah, I would rather do that
Priceless.
than wake up every morning and be
Hating
proud.
the job and dreading going.
Exactly. Like I could never do anything just for money.
I love the idea, and this happened with me as well, waking up on Monday morning and not dreading it going to work.
Yeah. I mean, 4 a.m. sucks, but I mean, that wake up call's hard, especially in the wintertime when you're snuggled in bed. But it's still, you get going and you're like, man, I get to go do something really cool and basically just laugh my head off for 4 hours a day.
Yeah. So thanks, Megan. Megan
Yeah.
Reider's been with us from Sweet 98, alumni, star Omaha talent.
Oh my God.
Morning show. Yeah, all around great person. Thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah. So join us on our socials. We're at UNO School of Communication. Look us up on our website. You'll find our socials, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Comm in 10, a production of the School of Communication at the University of Nebraska at Omaha. New episodes drop every other week, so be sure to subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And don't forget to follow the School of Communication on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube for the latest episodes and behind-the-scene updates.